We'll save it for another day. Now, we talked about this closed circuit situation. You can monitor people, and that does not look like a dopoda, a real dopoda. That is not a real dopoda. Does anybody know who a dopoda, dopod? Dopod is actually a joint venture with HTC here, a Taiwanese company. I guarantee you that's not the real thing. Now, does anybody remember, I'm going to date myself, but maybe this gentleman here knows. Remember, hey, Dick Tracy, Car 51, where are you? Basically, the comic books had Dick Tracy who could have a cell phone on his wristwatch, right? Remember that? No? So, Car 51, where are you? Well, isn't that kind of cool? So you can talk on your wristwatch, and you can communicate with somebody else on the phone. These exist now. These are not, these actually exist. Cell phone wristwatch cell phones. Now, let's get to something very, very interesting. The fake iPhone. Who here has a fake iPhone? Come on, you've all seen one. Come on, don't look at me. I'm not selling them. But basically, you'll find people with the iPhone saying, "Hey, look at my iPhone," only to find out you turn it over. It's not the real thing. It's a counterfeit. It works, basically. It works. So the key point is, it's not the real thing. It does similar functions, but 5 minutes playing with it, you know it's not the real thing. But it is creative. There's creativity going on there. This is just a transformation handset. It just folds up and out many different ways. Who's into luxury? Who's into luxury? There you go. You can have your very expensive gold-plated cell phone. Wow. Good if you have a cavity. If you have a filling, you need a filling, you can melt it down for gold. Gold is worth a lot these days. So basically, they're going after the luxury, 800 renminbi luxury market. Now, this is the PlayStation Portable, and the Shan Zhai claim that they actually came out with this before Sony. They had this gaming device before Sony, or so it has been claimed. You can see the difference here. Kind of cool, isn't it? So let's not be stubborn about creativity. It comes in many forms. It comes in many fashions. It comes in many parts of the world. It isn't just Western-centric. Key point here. Oh, okay, fuwa. I want a fuwa. Does anybody want a fuwa? 很可爱的 fuwa, right? So during the Olympics last year, you could buy one of these cell phones with the fuwa. Does everyone know what fuwa is? It's basically the mannequins that were used. Is that the right word? The mascots that were used during the Olympics last year. And again, Buddha preserves me. So, what do you think about buying a phone that is blessed by eminent monks? Wouldn't that be enlightening? Wouldn't that be? If I were a Buddhist, I would find that enlightening. Maybe after this presentation, I should become a Buddhist. Okay. Now, this is what they call Shan Zhai's little brother. What it is, basically, there's a company in the United States called Oakley. And Oakley has this kind of very expensive, I think they're working with Motorola. Oakley has this very expensive glasses, sunglasses, and it has MP3 player. Maybe Oakley and Motorola basically combined for this. Anyway, you can buy them in Shenzhen. I've seen them. Now, let's get back to, okay, so we've gone through some of the Shan Zhai products, right? Let's get back to the whole reasoning behind why this is occurring now. It's because of this company, Lianfa. Okay, so basically, MediaTek rules the Shan Zhai because they are the ones supplying the semiconductor silicon. Do you know, in the cell phone industry, it really is pretty much controlled by the semiconductor silicon chips on the handset. And what MediaTek did, basically, is they understood the Chinese market. They are creating something called MTK inside. You talk to any engineer who does mobile devices and you say MTK, they know. Lianfa. So it's a revolution here, basically, that they've launched in China. It's a destructive innovation revolution that's going on here with MediaTek. And let me continue. So MediaTek, this is the guy who runs the company. 90% share of China's mobile phone chip market. Wow! hello, Houston, we really have a problem now because it's eating into the tier 1 vendors markets. It's also eating into some of the Chinese brands, although many of the Chinese brands now use the MediaTek chip. ZTE uses MediaTek's chip. Lenovo, Tianyu uses all MediaTek. 160 million chipsets were sold in 2007. That's only 2007. I don't have figures for 2008 yet, but system on a chip is creating a disruptive innovation revolution. Key point. And this system on a chip, what does that mean? It basically takes all the functions, incorporates them into a single chip, and then how it works is the MediaTek sales rep would go to the handset manufacturer and they would actually design and customize, 定做, customize the chip right in the features on that the chip that the handset needs from the chip, go back, put the die in place, and actually in 3 months, not 9 months, you can now have a new handset. Okay, so the Shan Zhai are creating low volume, low cost, quick to market devices. So this is what's a challenge for the established tier 1 handset manufacturers. This is what's causing them to have sleepless nights. Basically, this is it. And the guts are still coming from Taiwanese companies as well. Let me show you. Let me show you. Look. Look at this. It's Taiwan inside. It's all Taiwanese semiconductor and parts components vendors. I can create a Carl Weaver cell phone if I want. I go to Shenzhen. I have an idea for a phone. Maybe it's a Razr phone. I get the chip. I go and source the components. I go to a no-name factory in Shenzhen. I say, build 100,000 of these for me. And I can sell them as Carl Weaver cell phones. I won't do that because I'm not a Shan Zhai. But the key point is it's Taiwan technology. Foxconn is Honghai. Fusikang and Honghai. Same company. Very, very large corporation in Taiwan. Disruptive innovation from a silicon chip. Basically, MediaTek is the original, what we call the catalyst for these Bandit cell phones, because they're just a company that makes a silicon chip that caters to these handsets. And by the way, MediaTek is very sensitive about being called the Shan Zhai catalyst, because they're selling to Lenovo, MediaTek. They're selling to traditional Chinese handset vendors as well. So to call them that would be a little bit misleading, actually. What they are doing is creating an innovative development here. What's the term that I used? Innovative disruption. That's the term I used. So Taiwanese ODMs were serving big ODMs in the past, and they didn't have this opportunity. But with MediaTek around now, many of these companies can have chips designed in a very short period of time, and they can compete with the tier 1 vendors. So I think that the tier 1 handset manufacturers need to look at a way that they can cooperate with MediaTek, because it seems very obvious to me that MediaTek has figured out a successful method to compete with the tier 1 vendors in the greater Chinese marketplace. Very obvious. So the point that I'm making is I'm just stating facts. That's all I'm doing today. Shan Zhai Ji, by any other name, again, the brand of handsets coming out. These are Chinese brands, by the way. So the Chinese brands, and this is Chinese brands, not Shan Zhai. This is just Chinese brands. So they're increasing. Lenovo is increasing. Tianyu, ZTE, Huawei. The local Chinese brands are increasing. That's causing trouble also for the tier 1 vendors. So if I'm a tier 1...